Okay, it seems to be working. Let's get this show on the road because we have a really good program today. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to see such a good crowd. I'm hoping it's because we have such an interesting panel and something a little different today. So silence your cell phones, and Greg will try to do the first term attendees.
Do we have any first-time visitors? They're all sitting in the back. Oh, I see. Let me come around this way. Tell us who you are, where you live, and how long you've been here. No, you go ahead.
No,
Hold it real close.
Vanetta Wick. Okay. Quail Trail, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, Quail Trail.
Woo woo.
Hold it real close to your mouth. Who are you? How long have you been here, and where are you? Right here. Right here. Let's ask how to get back.
I'm Bill Hampton, and
Betty Hampton.
we've moved in September 8th. I'll talk just.
Dale with Betty Hatches.
Here we go.
Bill and Betty Hampton. September 8th, we moved in, and we're in E-building.
Yay!
Anybody else over here? And there was somebody over here. Here we go. Name and how long you been here and where?
It's Tom and my wife Georgia. We were in the new building, the E building. We moved in on the 17th, a Wednesday. So about 2.5 weeks.
Very good. Anyone else? We hope you'll invite others to join us, and especially as we have so many new people on campus, always be looking to say, "Hey, can I take you, give you a ride?" These are always good meetings for us. Thank you.
And so with all these new people are wonderful, and we will start off with Anthony.
All right, good afternoon. I'm going to be really short and sweet today because we've got a lot going on, but I want to talk about two things out of COVID that we really struggled with. And those of you that have lived with us for 5 years, you'll recognize this. First was our healthcare business units were just decimated by COVID. We lost staff. We just had a hard time kind of building back up. We're finally at a place where they're all performing well, but it has taken about 5 years for some of them to turn around. And then the other area is with staffing, which some of you have felt very acutely, depending on which area of the village you like to frequent. And so want to show a couple slides on our staffing. So this is a layout of tenure of our associates here at the village. So as you can see, over 60% of the people that work here have worked here for less than 4 years. And 23% have worked here for less than a year. So a quarter of our staff have not been here for a year. So what we are seeing with our residents is that as you are moving in, you are getting engaged with the community faster than historically you have, which is great. Now we're trying to do the same thing with our associates. How can we get them tethered to the organization, kind of get them buying into the mission really within their first 90 days? So this is an area that we're going to be looking at as a team, and we've challenged our leadership team to really focus on this. This is going to be really important for what we do for the next few years. And then the other thing that I think is really important, I mentioned that we had a lot of staffing challenges after COVID. We've done a lot of work and initiatives on our recruiting and retention side, and we've had a lot of success. So I want to just show you by the numbers how many open positions we currently have at the village versus what we've historically had the last couple years. So for FY23, we had 122 open positions. Today, we're at 49 open positions. So we've been able to fill, yeah, it's good, it's good. And those are not position reductions that we've had. These are positions and people that we've been able to bring in, and we've had a lot of success. And actually, they're not here to talk about that, but all 5 of these gentlemen that are up here have been a huge part of that. So really excited with where we're going. We're continuing to push forward and higher and higher and higher. Last last week we had 12 new people in orientation, which was fantastic. So we're doing a lot, but hopefully you all are starting to feel from a service level standpoint that there have been significant improvements, because we are seeing it from a numbers standpoint. So that's all I have, and I'm going to turn it over to Maria.
Thanks, Anthony. We kind of purposely choreographed this because it tees up well what I wanted to talk to you about, and which is not this. This will be coming in a minute, but and that is the resident survey, which is scheduled to drop around October 14th. So the U.S. mail can be a little unpredictable these days, but the survey is being mailed from our survey partner, Holleran, in order to arrive here on or at the 14th. And then the email, for those of you who signed up to get your survey electronically, should drop on the 14th. So keep your eyes out for that, especially electronic recipients that could show up in your spam or your junk. And so if you don't get it, be sure to look those places before calling Kelly Snell if you really haven't gotten it. I do want to applaud you all, because in 2023, there were only 87 of you who signed up for the survey electronically. And do you want to know what the sum total is? How many signed up this time? 250. Yay! Yay, you guys. So last time we had a 62.7 response rate, which was 690 residents responding out of 1,100. So this year, I'm hoping we hit the 75% mark, which would be 866 of 1155. So can you all please go out and encourage residents to fill out the survey? Good, bad, or otherwise, we want to know what you're thinking, because it really does help us plan and prioritize and allocate resources. The reason Anthony's slide was so important was because one of the things that came through in the 78 pages of verbatim comments that you all provided in 2023 was your frustration with our staffing levels. Many of you said, I love living here, but the staffing is impacting me, or the lack of staffing. So we have really put a concentrated effort on trying to reduce that number of vacant positions in order to provide more consistent quality service to you all. And so we'll see how the survey comes out, but please take the time to fill it out. And even you new people, you should be receiving a survey. So if you were in the system, I can't remember the exact cutoff date, but the September move-ins, we should have captured you. So we are looking forward to the responses. And Joe, you'll have me back after the first of the year to do a full report. So Holleran prepares a final presentation, which I will give, and then we'll also be giving an initial response to the survey results from management. So we look forward to having the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gail Benet with the Foundation, and I have some updates for you this afternoon. First of all, 3 weeks ago on September 13th, we had our gala. How many of you were there? Wasn't it amazing? Yeah, I have never seen so many people dress in costume as I did that night. I thought it was so much fun. And of course, the symphony, their music made it extra special. And I just think it was, and Todd and his staff, the way they make everything perfect. We had a great time. A lot of compliments. We have the gross amount raised is around 250,000. We're still getting some expenses in. I'm going to guess we'll end up right around 200,000 as a net number. But as soon as we have that, we will let you know what that is, and we will let you know how that money will be spent, whether it's chairs, flooring, combination. We'll keep you informed on that. The second thing I want to report on, you may know we're doing a capital campaign. Has anybody heard about it? Yeah. I bet you will be so happy when we are finally at our goals so that you do not have to hear about it anymore, right? Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I feel the same way. But it's very exciting because we are making tremendous progress toward that goal. Last week, when we posted the number of dollars still needed to reach the maybe goal. I think it was early last week. We were at 368, 194. As of last Thursday, we are at 317, 694. And with the gifts that we've received notice of today, I can pretty confidently say we're now down in the 200 and something. So that is because of all of you. And we are so, so grateful to all of you who have decided to be part of this campaign. It's not too late. We still have a ways to go. And I want to remind you that you can do a pledge. You do not have to write a check. If you've already given from your required minimum distribution this year, but you would like to pledge it for next year, that is perfectly fine. You have up to 5 years. The Maybe Foundation will accept 5-year pledges. And if they start in 2026, early 2026, before the deadline of January 14th, which is, by the way, 100 days away, they will accept that towards our campaign goals. So if there's anything I can do to help you decide what type of gift is better for you, please give me a call. I'd be happy to do that. And then last but certainly not least, we had a nut sale this weekend. So if you came up to the pavilion, we were up at Oktoberfest with an assortment of nuts to sell, some of them chocolate covers, some of them for baking. We still have some left. They are in my office. We don't have a ton, but we do have some of both types. So if there's something that you think you might be interested in, just give me a call and I'll be happy to tell you what our inventory is. And I'd be happy to put, a bag or 2 or 10 away for you to pick up at your convenience. So as a reminder, the proceeds from the nut sale do go to resident financial assistance. That is the fund that the foundation and the village work together to make sure that residents never have to leave their home if they run out of money, if they're on an entrance fee contract. It's the Benevolent Assistance Fund that is a huge part of what the foundation is about. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to roll into our committees. And if our chairmans, when they come up, if you don't normally, would you please give your name and the committee? Because some people have said we're not exactly sure who they are. So we'll start off with finance and Jay.
I'm Jay Goodman with the Finance Committee, and at our last meeting, Steve Segerman was there. Steve is the Chief Financial Officer, and he reviewed the August financial results with us for that month and year to date. And he also reviewed the Resident Financial Assistance Program, and we had a good discussion regarding that. The month of August is the 5th month in John Knox's fiscal year. So if you look at those 5 months together, year to date, our operating revenue is above budget by 2.1%. Our operating expenses are a bit below budget, and our operating margin is 12.2%. And to put that in context, at the end of last fiscal year, our operating margin was 10.8%. So we're continuing to see that upward trajectory financially that we're certainly looking for. We also reviewed the finances of the John Knox business units. As currently structured, there are 5 business units at John Knox. That's senior living, assisted living, emergency medical service, the care center, and the 5th is home and community services, and it comprises home health, hospice, and outpatient therapy. And at this point, all of those business units are making a positive financial contribution to John Knox's financial performance. And put another way, all of them are generating more revenue than they all are expense. And that 5th business unit, home and community services, is notable in that its financial performance has improved dramatically over the past year. In fact, its operating margin at this point in time is 5.5%. A year ago at this time, it was negative 12.6%. So we've gone from a positive 5.5 to a negative, from a negative 12.6. And that represents a change in operating income of about $600,000. So that's a significant change, and one we're very, of course, pleased to learn about. In terms of the Resident Financial Assistance Program, that's a very meaningful program. The purpose of the program is to ensure eligible residents will have a home for life here at John Knox, even if their personal financial resources are depleted and they're no longer able to pay their entire monthly service fee. Now, eligible residents are those with monthly service contracts, and who meet other criteria. Did I say monthly? I meant to say entrance fee agreements. And it's other criteria they need to meet, primarily that their individual financial assets are below a certain set level. The program doesn't assist a particularly high number of people at any given time. They represent about 1% of residents. And the support provided to them is based on a formula that's essentially their monthly income subtracted by, or their monthly income compared to monthly service fee and other basic living expenses. And the assistance program then makes up the difference between those two. It makes up the shortfall. The program is funded by a combination of the foundation and John Knox itself. The funding comes 50% from the foundation and 50% from John Knox. And if anyone thinks they might fit into the criteria of the program and be served by it, they should contact Steve Segerman, the Chief Financial Officer. If any of you want to donate to the program, as we just discussed, you certainly can through the foundation, and just designate it as for the Resident Financial Assistance Program. Our next meeting will be the last Wednesday of this month at 1 o'clock in the Missouri Room. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Frank Goulburn, Chairman of the Health Services Committee. Our meeting was called to order by me on September the 10th. We had as our speaker, Anthony, our President and CEO, and Michael Stoker, and additionally, Rosalind Chalela, the new manager of psychosocial services, was there. Michael introduced Rosalind and asked her to describe her background. She has an education as a music therapist. She's described her progression from that to other soft skills such as aromatherapy, soft tissue mobilization, which is massage, pet therapy. All of this is to promote quality of life and distraction for those who need that kind of comfort in their life. She also described a new bereavement program for survivors and the new provision of comfort meals to be delivered to bereaved families. After a surprise ice cream treat by Anthony, we walked over and toured the Parkinson's Connection as it's now constructed. We observed a class in action doing broad movements and other kinds of therapy for Parkinson's. This is becoming a very successful program. There are over 50% of the participants are from outside of JKV. There is a charge for this. It's not covered by Medicare, but John Knox residents receive a discount. The move of this outpatient therapy, Parkinson's, home health, hospice, and the consolidation of all those over at the care center has been a great success. And I must say and give credit to Anthony and Michael, who spearheaded this, and it's been terrific, and it'll grow. Our next meeting is, make sure I got the right time, 2 p.m. on October the 8th in the Administrative Boardroom. Thank you.
I'm Fran Baker, Chair of the Resident Services Committee. Our last meeting was on September 15th. Steve Segerman had asked us to meet with Amber Barden, the CEO of Parasol Alliance Company. In 2022, Parasol completed a strategic assessment of IT use throughout the village, and it was time for an update of that assessment. Ms. Barden asked each committee member to tell what type of IT he or she uses. Responses included cell phones, computers, laptops, and watches. These devices are used for communication, information, shopping, and monitoring health. There were mixed reactions when asked about using IT to monitor falls and the sleep patterns in independent living. That was just something that might be implemented if there was enough interest, and it was just a general question. When asked what IT we would like to see in the future, one member suggested having some way to block spam. In other business, a concern was shared from a resident regarding the lack of use at microphones at events. And I think we all just need to remember to pass the microphone around, and if you're not hearing something, raise your hand and ask to have it repeated. Our next meeting is October 13th at 9:30 in the boardroom.
My name is Sue Rusco, and I'm chair of nominating committee. And the nominating committee met September 16th. The committee discussed its responsibilities, including identifying qualified candidates for resident members of the JKV Board of Directors. There are 9 members to the JKV board, and 3 of them are residents of John Knox Village. Jim Ham is scheduled to retire from the board in the spring of 2026. The nominating committee is announcing today that the search for qualified candidates to stand for the John Knox Village Board of Directors has begun. To qualify, the resident must have lived in the village for at least 2 years, have actively participated in resident council activities, and be committed to making decisions for the long-term future of the village based on consideration of the residents. Thank you. The committee plans to meet November 18th to finalize the resume cover sheet, which will replace the previous standard JKV Board of Directors resume form. Thanks.
I am Lita Blevins. I am chairman of the Sales, Marketing, and Communication Committee. And I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon. We have a great group. Thank you very much. Jerry Parker went over what happens when you call in and you want to discuss coming to John Knox. And I'm going to make this short and sweet because I know we all want to hear from these guys. But basically you call in, and unless you ask for a specific salesperson, you get whoever's in the queue. They will take your name, phone number, find out a few things about you, hopefully set up an appointment for you to come in, sit down with a a marketing rep, salesperson, and they will go over the planning worksheet. This is 4 pages, and this will compare your expenses to what's included in John Knox, anything from the cost of having a car to your repairs. Thank you, Anthony. Your repairs of your house. They also talk about your mortgage payment, your taxes and things like that. And based on that, and they'll run the financials, you can either be qualified for entrance fee, which will give you long-term care if you need it, and a home for life here. If not, you can go to leased, and that will give you a place to live, but no long-term health assistance. That's on your own. She also introduced a new salesman named Mary Darlin. So if you see a new person running around, that's probably her. Mary Beth talked about the inventory here and the number of people moving into e-building, and the fact that there are some 120 people that have paid a deposit to be on the preferred list. And right now we have 37 units in the lease. We have 31 apartments less than 700 square feet. 5 apartments are greater than 700 square feet. 38 homes, and 6 could be entry fee. Our competition out there is Raintree, which is 100% lease, and it is profit. So we are looking to see how we can compete and what we can do next to stay in the marketplace. The August sales goal was 175. They had 180 actual referrals. The deposit entry fees were 6 was the goal, and actual was no. The lease was 8 was the goal, actual was 10. Move-ins, the entry fee goal was 7, actual 3. The lease, the goal was 6, actual was 8. The occupancy right now is 877. The actual was 879. Their goal, the actual was 879. Phase 11 with 5 units. They're moving in. Phase 12 has 6 units sold. They should be moving in February. Phase 13 has 7 units, and the tear down has started. And I just want to make a plug for the residents in E. I represent meeting with one floor over there, and those people are engaged. They're awesome. They are often running. So if you see new faces and they ask questions, please help, because they are here and they are ready to go. Our next meeting is October 16th in the Manhattan Room at 9:30, and anyone is welcome.
And thank you, Chairman, so much for that. And I'm going to let Maria come and introduce our panel. We'll get right to it.
Trying to get to the darn. Lita gave you a little bit of a preview, didn't she? So, okay, well, I will introduce this illustrious panel. From my left, your right, my left, is Todd Hollander, our Director of Dining Services, John Spears, our Manager of Facilities, Brian Apoka, our Director of Public Safety, Eric Scott, our Director of Operations and Development, and Dave Craver, our Manager of Grounds. And Joe asked if we could put together a panel to talk about some of the things that the village does that support the environment, and places where we have made choices to do certain things a certain way that are environmentally friendly. Whoops. Sorry. So I know all of you are aware that last week Jane Goodall passed away, and I thought this quote was just really telling and applicable for today's topic. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. So, as we think about things we can do for the environment, I think that's really applicable. Certainly, as individuals, we want the world to be a healthy and safe place for our children, our grandchildren, if I ever get any, um, our great grandchildren, and certainly as an organization that's part of a bigger community, we want to be good corporate citizens. And we also want to use our limited resources wisely, whether those are environmental resources or the financial resources that you entrust to us. So we're going to start with Mr. Craver to talk about things that the Grounds and Landscaping Department does.
All right. Can everybody hear me? All right. My name is David Craver. I'm with the Grounds Department. So first of all, I'm going to talk about trash. So you may not realize it, but with this campus being this big, we have a lot of trash here on campus. We have two 30-yard compactors that we fill up every 2 weeks. And the amount of trash that ends up being is about 7 to 8 tons every 2 weeks per compactor. So that's just, trash is trash. And then around campus, we also have 7 8-yard dumpsters. So the big dumpsters that you see around campus, and those get emptied twice a week. And so we average probably about 112 yards of trash in those dumpsters weekly. So what that does is that brings us to the recycling portion of what we're going to be talking about. So we do have 8 recycle bins here on campus, and therefore they're commingled bins. So cardboard, plastic, all kinds of different things can go into that. I believe up on the recycling slide, there is a website you can go to for an updated version of what we can and can't recycle. With that 8 bins that we do have on campus, that saves 64 yards of rubbish from going in the landfill. We see a lot of trash that in the trash bags when we are processing that could go into recycle bags. One good thing is about 4 months ago, we did add a recycle bin over to the care center for their cardboard. So that also helped take that cardboard out of the landfill and into the recycle program. Another thing that we do for the cardboard is the warehouse has a cardboard compactor, and we average 7 to 9 bales of cardboard every month that we save from going into the landfill. So when we have the large move-ins and things like that, a lot of that cardboard goes into that big compactor, then that gets picked up on a monthly basis. Here's one thing I thought that was really interesting was the glass recycle. So since we started this program in 2022, and I just got the report last month through 2025, we have recycled as a village 29,662 pounds of glass. So that's from you residents using our orange recycle bags and getting that into the recycle program versus going into the landfill. So you're all commended for that process.
Janet Crawl just said that's a lot of beer.
It's kind of funny because if you look at the monthly reports, they do fluctuate. So I know around July, everybody likes to party, and around December, we have a lot of parties. So I definitely see the inflow or the influx of the glass throughout that program. But not only do we recycle waste from residents, we also recycle organic material. All the leaves that we collect every year, you see us out bagging up the leaves on the yards and everything. Those go into a big compost pile. And then one thing we have done the last couple of years is we have gone to the Kansas City Zoo, and they have a zoo manure program. So we get that manure, which is composted for 3 years before we get it. And then we mix it with our leaves and topsoil, and then that goes back into our flower beds, into our resident beds. So we're constantly recycling anything that we possibly can. Yes.
I live on Breakmont, off of the east side, so there's that whole open area behind us. He used to come and pick up all the leaves for take back. Now they just mow.
Yeah, right now we're not into leaf season yet. So right now we are just mowing, and the little bit of her question was about picking up the leaves. So right now we are just mowing and composting them, which that does take, it does put nutrients back into the soil as well, just by mulching the leaves. So they're not going to waste, that's for sure. But once the leaves really start turning and falling, that's when we'll be bringing the baggers out and collecting the leaves and then taking them up into our big compost pile. So we try not to waste anything. Another thing that we've done over the last 4 years is with the construction is with the smaller trees, we try to save as many trees as we can. So in the last 4 years, we've actually spaded and transplanted 15 trees. I've got 4 more that are on the schedule for mid-month this month to transplant and take over to another area versus just cutting them down and wasting the trees. So we do also try to reuse any trees or plants that we possibly can. So that kind of brings us also into our native plants and our plant selection. So several years ago, we thought, why aren't we putting native plants in here? That's what grows in Missouri. They're drought tolerant. They're good for our pollinators. They bring color. So one thing we've done on campus is we used to have about 100 annual beds for annual flowers. We have reduced that down to about 50 annual beds, but in the annual beds that we eliminated, we have put perennial flowers in there. So they come back year after year, and they are natives. So they take a lot less water and a lot less maintenance and fertilizer and things like that. And we're not losing our color spots. Another thing with the native plants that we're doing is we're incorporating native plants into all of our new landscapes. Anytime we do even existing landscapes, we're trying to put more native plants in for maintenance and for the watering purposes, because they are easier to take care of and they grow well here in this climate. We know we can go from wet to dry overnight here in Missouri. So yeah, we need some rain right now. So our natives are doing really well right now. And that also takes us into the water conservation. You know, by not having as many annual beds, we don't have to go through and water those as much as we do the annual. So we can, once the plant's established, we can water it once a month, maybe every couple months, we might give it a little drink. So that's why we are going in with native plants into most of our selections around the campus here. And that's about all I've got, I think.
Thanks, Dave. We did decide not to print off a handout about recycling because we didn't want to waste the paper. But that website, recyclespot.org, does give you a really nice outline of what can and cannot be recycled. And then if any of you haven't been active in recycling, you're more than welcome to look in your resident handbook. I always have to put a pitch in for that. It does talk about our recycling program. And I saw, Judy, you had your hand up.
I am a neighbor on Pike Hill. We had to do it free so much up. What is the disposal cost?
They could hear me. Yeah. What is the disposal cost of trash versus recycling per pound or ton or whatever? So I'm essentially saying, how much do you save on taking recycling away versus taking trash to the landfill?
I don't have an exact number, but after looking at the trash and the recycle bills the last couple of months, we save about 1/3 on the recycling versus throwing it in the trash. So it is a huge savings for us to actually recycle. And I would love to put more recycle bins on campus than trash bins.
Okay, moving on. Our next is John Spears to talk about utilities.
Thank you. As Maria said, I'm John Spears. I'm the manager of facilities. I'm going to talk about utilities. It's kind of hard to follow Dave's talk about manure and trees and things like that. But as you know, we have electricity, natural gas, and water. water and sewer here. We're average, our budget for this year's utilities is just over 3 million. It's about $3,400,000. Obviously, the biggest part of that is electricity. Some of the things that we're doing to save on our electricity, we're participating in the Evergy's off-peak and peak rate program that we took advantage of this year. Probably the biggest area that we're making improvements in is when we do the renovations and the remodels. We're taking away the old equipment, the inefficient equipment, and putting in new energy efficient equipment. We're doing lighting. We're changing from the standard incandescents that are going away, the fluorescents. We're going to LEDs, which one of the things that we get from LEDs is actually labor hours. It takes away, my team no longer has to change light bulbs as much, so that frees up man hours for other things like that. So that's one of our biggest areas that we're hopefully making improvements in electricity. Natural gas for the property. A lot of you may not know, we actually own our underground piping distribution systems here at John Knox Village. We also we can participate in what's called transport gas, which means we can buy gas from the wellhead. Saves us dollars when it's favorable. Right now, we're currently not participating in that. With the current price of gas versus transport gas cost, we're not in that program right now, but I monitor basically the stock market daily, looking at the gas prices on a daily basis. And when the opportunity presents itself, we jump over there and can jump in and can purchase gas at a better rate for us and for the village as well. Water and sewer, as Dave talked about, as he changes his program, that's saving us some water as well. That's one of the we've actually seen our water rate has been jumping up consistently over the past few years. Weather related, a lot of it is new construction, things like that. We obviously have to irrigate when we build new buildings. But again, we take advantage anytime where we can put in an irrigation meter. That saves us the sewer cost. Basically, sewer cost in Lee Summit is based on your gallons usage of water. So anytime we can add an irrigation meter, that saves us those costs. We also can take advantage of some of our cooling towers, some of our HVAC equipment. That saves us money as well for evaporation costs and things like that. So again, I spend a lot of my time monitoring. Every address here has a utility bill that comes through except for gas, electric, and water. I review all those bills, looking for any abnormalities, things like that. I also get emails through Evergy where they'll send me an email halfway through the billing cycle that says, it looks like you're heading for a higher bill or higher usage bill. So that gives us the opportunity. I'm kind of after the fact, but it does help me to track if we have things that are trending the wrong way. We can go in and look at those and see if there's things going on that we may need to be able to take advantage of, or if there are leaks or anything else that might be happening. So that's utilities.
And what can residents do, John?
They can, one of the biggest things, again, with our rate program, we're using I think it's called the standard peak plan. So those hours between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., those are the times that, again, if possible, drying clothes, cooking, things like that. If you can, help us save some dollars there and stay out of the usage during those hours. Again, it's your home. We want you all to be comfortable in your home. So we're not saying certainly don't turn your air conditioner down or things like that. But just be conscious of those hours at 4 to 8 p.m. And if there are things that you can push back or try to use to try to do outside of those hours, that helps us in saving dollars and cost.
Janet?
I have another question that we didn't get to before on recycling.
Oh,
Recycling,
sorry.
Dave.
On the recycling, you said that you recycled the glass. I don't think they recycle when we have a birthday celebration or happy hour at the pavilion. I see pop cans and beer go into the trash.
Okay, that's something I would have to get with Richard on, and we could look into that.
Todd can address that during his time about dining, because we recognize that there are things that we could do in that area.
On Craigmont, especially the new villas across from us, there's lots of water in the street because of their irrigation. It's not getting into the grass, it's getting on the sidewalk and running down the street.
Okay.
schooling there.
Thanks for sharing that. Next up is Brian Apoka. Oh, sorry. Yes, sir.
Was the same thing like Willow?
On Willow, too. Okay. We'll make note of that. Thank you. Next up is Brian Apoka to talk about electric vehicles. Oh, is there another one? Sorry.
We have a program, Living Ways, for converting solar power.
Oh, John, do you want to talk about solar power?
We do have some arrays on the property. Right now, they currently kind of break even with our lease, our cost on those. We don't have anything underway as far as specifically utilizing that generated electricity for a specific use yet. There are a lot of costs involved with getting the front end equipment to do that, but we are looking for ways that can help us, if there ever presents itself, to certainly take advantage of that.
Okay, Brian to talk about electric vehicles.
Hello. Again, my name is Brian Apoka, the Director of Public Safety. So about 9 years ago, we looked into converting our security vehicles over to electric vehicles to help with emissions. And when we did that, we were pleasantly surprised as to how much it also saved us in the repair costs of the vehicles that we had, as well as the fuel. In that first year, we saved $30,000 by just switching our security vehicles over to electric vehicles. Don't have any comparisons beyond that because we have continued utilizing the electric vehicles, but the cost of electricity versus fuel is the electricity is about 80% cheaper than the fuel costs that we were having. The repair costs on the electric vehicles are very minimal because we're leasing these vehicles, and so if there are issues with them, then they're covered under warranty. About the only thing we really do regarding maintenance on these electric vehicles is replace tires, and we replace them often because we're out there patrolling, going around in circles for 24 hours a day. So the tires don't hold up like they would be if we were riding on the highway and things of that nature. So that has been a big savings. And in the public safety line of work, we do use a lot of vehicles. We have buses, we have ambulances as well. And when there are products that do come out, when we're looking to purchase, we're always looking at ways to be able to help with the environment as well as cut our costs. We just haven't come across expanding that outside of our security department yet.
And Brian, you're up next on the drug take back.
So the Drug Take Back is a national program that was put together by the DEA. We got involved with that 10 years ago. There's 4,592 drug take-back stations across the United States. In April, there was 620,000 and some odd pounds of prescription drugs that were turned back in that were medications that they had expired or they were no longer taking. There's a multitude of reasons as to why the DEA started doing that. It was one is to keep the medications out of our water supply, also to keep it out of the wrong hands, people getting into other people's medications and causing them to have drastic side effects. So it has been extremely successful. In April, here at John Knox Village, out of those 620,000 some odd pounds of medications that were given back so they could be properly disposed of, 72 pounds came from John Knox Village. So you guys have done a tremendous help with that program and being cognitive of getting rid of your prescriptions. We always do this twice a year. There's one in April every year, and there's one in October. And the next one that we're having here is October 25th from 10 to 2 in the Manhattan Room. So if you could go through your things, and if you have some old medications that you want to dispose of, please join us October 25th in the Manhattan Room, and they will get those properly disposed. Beyond just that program, and I didn't share this with Maria beforehand when we were talking about this, but I was thinking while I was sitting here also to talk about what we do as best practices in the healthcare settings with medications. And we have had programs in place in the healthcare settings for many a years to help dispose of those medications that are either expired or there's a little bit left in the syringe that the patient didn't get the whole dose. So we properly dispose of those as well. I don't have numbers to share with you on that, but it is a tremendous amount that is kept out of those landfills or in the water supply as well.
Thank you. Next. Yes, ma'am.
It says recycling of the liners. We can't recycle the bottles that they're in.
Recycling of the.
But with the medications, those are also properly disposed of as well. Ye- When you turn those in, yes, they will properly dispose of those. No liquids, yes, correct.
Okay, one other thing. In the Meadows building, I collect all the batteries that people turn.
Judy, I got you on the another slide. I have a whole bullet devoted to you. You know, if you want to ask a question, go ahead. But I do have your battery thing on a upcoming slide. Okay. Sorry. We have a casual relationship. I can tease her like that.
I can't get around it.
On the, we talking about the medicine bottles recycling. Can't we put the white ones in the regular recycle, but the brown ones we can't? Is that right?
I am not sure that I could answer that question, but I can look into that and most definitely follow back up with you.
I give my medication bottles minus the label to Gail Benet to take to her vet, and her vet reuses them. There's different ways of getting there, isn't there?
And also on that website that we mentioned earlier, when you go onto that website about recycling, it has a lot to do, and there are some pictures of pill bottles on there, so it'll tell you if you can or cannot recycle those in our normal recycling as well.
Yeah.
The only place that I have found that I can recycle the brown prescription bottles is with the Lee Summit Recycling Day. They will take them, but you got to bring them over to the recycling place, to their facility on, I guess it's Hamblin Road or something.
According to the one copy I printed off from the website that Dave gave me or put on the slide, yes, the brown bottles are in the no category. For our recycling, yeah. Well, the amber color bottles. Okay, next up is Eric Scott on construction.
Eric Scott, Director of Operations and Development. I'm going to turn around. I did a great job of saving ink on my sheet, and I cannot read it. So I'm going to turn here. First up on the construction projects, we have to do demolition. Before we do any demolition, and this applies to our annual villa program or our apartment building, John's group, the facilities group, goes through and we salvage any salvageable equipment that we can. This can include appliances. We've also on recent projects taken handrail down and delivered that to the Hobby Hut, as well as even pulling up some carpet tiles on the top 2 floors of the Lindbergh building that we're planning to reuse. We talked a little bit about the solar panels. As John said, solar is there's not a huge return on investment, but we've had a solar array lease program in effect for several years here at the campus. There were solar panels that were removed for the Courtyard E construction at the west end of B building and the north end of C building. We had those panels removed, refurbished, they're being replaced. The lease company that we get the solar arrays from owes us some inverters, and then we're going to put those back into use, and that's happening shortly. Where possible, we try to repurpose appliances. We use a lot of the appliances for the loaner program that we have. Cabinets. I think the last big project that we did was the Val 100, 200, 300 quarter renovation, where we actually were really successful on repurposing a bunch of those materials to a company called Flourish. No, I think that was actually Tim Shields in town, but getting rid of good looking leftover materials is harder. You guys have probably seen this in your personal lives. It's harder than you think. You practically got to gift wrap it to give it away, but we are working hard to try to do that where we can. On the new construction side, we follow the 2018 IBC International Building Code. That's got energy compliance recs that go along with it. That stuff all happens with the architect, gets specified into the projects, so the contractors have to buy those materials. LED light fixtures. When we did the Meadows 2 project, we put new electrical outlets in the garage, for electric vehicles. Also refurbished the Meadows West garage. And then lastly, recycled asphalt is kind of a very common occurrence. That's all.
Okay. Todd Hollander, Dining Services.
So within dining services, sustainability is very important to us. We potentially have a lot of waste that we can send off to the trash that we try and avoid. With waste, when we plan out buffets, that's an area where a lot of extra waste can occur if we don't prepare and forecast properly. So what we try and do within the restaurants is prepare about 2/3 of what we expect. And then we can adjust once the meal period starts to begin. And if we need to throw extra pan in at that point, we go ahead and do so. And that's for any of our specials and buffets. With the buffets, we try and keep enough to keep the pans at least half full. What we have found is that residents don't want to participate on the buffet if the pans are close to empty, especially towards the end. And we want the last person eating to have as fresh of a meal as the front end. So we try and keep those pans at least half full by the end of the meal. And so what do we do with the leftovers is we use those for shift meals those days. And we try and reutilize that through the staff. And any unprepared food that we haven't fully cooked, we'll reuse and repurpose for other specials. We'll break it back down and repurpose some of those ingredients if at all possible. Some of the reason we have the Blue Plate Special over at Courtyard 2 days in a row is to allow us to better plan and utilize our specials that we're purchasing so that we have 2 days to use it. And then if you notice on intermission Fridays, every once in a while, we'll kind of have a smorgasbord of different appetizers. That's because we're using a product that hadn't been prepared for multiple specials for the previous weeks. Lakeside had tried to not advertise their second special until the morning of. We did that for the month of September. That went over like a lead balloon, but we attempted it. What we found is residents wanted to know ahead of time so that they can plan better. But the reason that we tried that in September was so that Leroy and the team over at Lakeside had a better opportunity to use up some of their product that they had extra. As opposed to just sitting on it and letting things build up on inventory. Those are some of the things that we're doing from a food waste standpoint. on trying to be creative with how we're menu planning, how we can cross-utilize specials and take something from one day if it's not prepared and use it a second day. So that's some of the things we're doing on the food waste side. We also compost. We work with KC Can Compost, and all of our anything that is organic can go in the orange bins that we utilize for composting. So any prep waste, any bones, anything organic can go in there. One of the other reasons we have different portion sizes at our restaurants is so that you can order what you're going to eat. But sometimes the portions are bigger, sometimes you don't eat everything. So those plate scraps go right into the composting as well. And composting started way back when we were talking about trying to decrease the amount of trash and dumpster use. And part of that decrease is because all of our organics are going into composting from the restaurants, because we contributed a lot going to the landfill prior. And we really took that initiative probably about 10 years ago and really tried to decrease the amount of liquids and organics that were going into the trash receptacles. You can also compost, and we'll talk a little bit more. I think there's another slide on that about how you can compost, and the website of accounts.kccancompost.com. You can sign up, and there's a monthly fee for it that you would pay to KC Can Compost. What they do with all of our compost, whether it comes from the restaurants or from your homes, is sell it to a composting company, a local company, that then turns that into full compost and sells that to local farmers. So that's what they end up doing with all of the compost that they're collecting from us. One thing that often gets forgotten is all of our fryer oil. Fryer oil used to just get trashed and brought into the landfill as well. And many years ago, there's been a way to convert that fryer oil into alternative fuel. So the company that we partner with actually purchases our used fryer oil. It's not very much, but it covers the portion of the cost that we have of buying the fryer oil. They convert it and they sell it to a lot of farmers that use alternate fuel tractors. So they'll convert our used fryer oil, they'll filter it and send it through a process so it can be used as regular fuel. So we're helping out there as well. Up at the pavilion, I know that question earlier about bottles and cans. We tried for a while having dedicated trash cans as well as dedicated recycle cans, and that didn't work too well, especially with the general public. It's also a huge challenge to get the glass from the pavilion over to the Ripple glass container. We've talked to Dave a few times to see what the volumes are and where it makes sense to bring a Ripple over to the pavilion, and we don't have the space or the volume consistently enough to do that. But what you don't know is if you bring your empty beer bottles back to the bar, our catering staff does collect all the empty bottles that they use behind the bar, as well as whatever guests bring them, and they'll drive it over to the Ripple at the end of the night. So it's not stinking up or whatever in storage or what have you. So we do our best to recycle, but you're absolutely right that we can do better about that. And we'll continue to brainstorm. And if you have ideas of how we can better do that and get the staff to or the guests to participate in that program, that's really helpful. That's one of the biggest challenges is education, to teach people how to recycle and what's appropriate, what bins for what. And let's see what else. Also, one of our challenges is balancing the expense to the benefit. We get asked all the time, why aren't our to-go containers compostable or recyclable? And the reason is because those containers cost a lot more than a non-recyclable plastic container that we use. And I don't want to take away any thunder from Maria because I'll get reprimanded, but we'll talk about what you can do with those in the future as well. Any questions about dining and our sustainability efforts?
Where will you at?
That has nothing to do with no. When will the new app be ready? It's ready. The new Gem to Go app is ready. If you already had your email online in that old system, you should have received an email with the new link that will expire in 24 hours. But if you receive that and miss that email, you can go to.
Did not got.
It could be in their spam or junk.
So.
Yeah. Software implementations are so fun.
So I know 2 minutes before I came to this meeting, it was supposedly sent to a bunch of residents. That's when I got the notification it was sent out. If you didn't get it and you know you had your email in, it's okay. You can still gain access. Go to www.gem2go, that's GEM2go.com. Hit the forgot password, and it will take you right to entering in a new password for you. Okay.
Yes, and that actually works because that's how I did it because I didn't get the email.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. The emails came out literally. It was just a couple minutes before this meeting. I got notification that they were being sent out. So you can do it. If you can't find it, let me know. And again, you don't really need it. You can just go to the website and hit forgot password. If you're looking to register, there's a website that was put out on the Village Voice. It came out Saturday at 7 p.m. You can go to that website and register to get online. So it is active. The app is not active yet. So there is no mobile app right now. You'll get notification when that is.
And Todd, residents aren't the only ones who check the Voice today at 7 o'clock to see what the specials are for the next day. Do I need to bring my lunch or can I buy? So,
We appreciate that.
yeah. Yes, sir.
I'd like to see the restaurant schedules expand.
Like to see restaurant schedules expanded. I'm not sure what that has to do with sustainability, except more consumption, which is always good. I'd like to see that too. And one of the things that would dictate that is if we continue to see traffic patterns changing. I know that there is potential with e-building filling up, that there will be some expansion. And I would love to hear your ideas on when you'd like to see and where you'd like to see that. Yes.
Time I made it more real. Expand this chart.
Oh, yeah. Points we can.
We can do that.
Okay, I'll put it up on a poster if that works. Yes. I know.
Todd, are the boxes, the go-to boxes, the go-home boxes in the restaurants, the black with the clear plastic, are they recyclable?
The paper boxes.
No, the other ones.
The clam.
Just a second. The paper boxes are recyclable. The clamshells are not recyclable, but they're reusable. And again, we'll talk about that here in just a minute.
So what happens? We're all putting them in recycle, so they have to be taken out?
Yes.
I mean, you guys have to take it out. No? Clamshells are not. I didn't think we knew that.
Yeah, clamshells are not recyclable. They're hard plastic. They're not recyclable.
Okay. Just a few odds and so
Well, we have recyclable is the actively potential reply. We all take them out, but reply is still hard to take them out.
Yeah, if something goes into recycling that's not supposed to and we don't catch it, the recycling place will have to take that out and they'll pull it from there. Yeah.
okay. Just a few odds and ends that I wanted to touch on. One is I spoke with Jen Schmiedler over at the warehouse. She's the manager of materials management. She reminded me a couple things. First of all, they do collect batteries over there, which is you're on the next slide. Yeah. So if you have used batteries, you can take them over there. They also collect metal scraps and their wood pallets they donate to outside organizations. We are very active at reassigning furniture. So if somebody's office changes or they decide they don't need a certain, I don't know, table or filing cabinet or something like that, Jen will send out an email and say, does anybody need this? And I can tell you there have been a couple times I've said, please just trash that. You know, we can only get so many lives out of some of our things. Everybody is trying to be so cost conscious that sometimes things just really do meet the end of their life. Also, if somebody needs something, like if I were to need another filing cabinet, Jen could send out an email that says, does anybody have a filing cabinet? So we really do try to reassign things based on the need. We do make donations to area charitable organizations. Eric briefly mentioned that. There's an organization called Flourish Furniture Bank out of Grandview. I think it's out of Grandview. I personally have donated there as well, and they have taken some of our things. Going electronic, like our medical records or even emails that are things, letters that we send you, things that we do electronically that reduces paper. We do not use near as much paper here as we used to, and we could probably do a whole slide on that if we would have tracked it over time, you know. So what can residents do? John talked a little bit about controlling your heating and cooling and appliance use during those hours of 4 to 8. Recycling, Dave's talked about accessing that website that we mentioned on the slide. There are more details in your resident handbook. Composting, Todd mentioned that. We do have a resident composting program in conjunction with the Village's compost partner. There also is information in your resident handbook about that. Free Hot Soup is an organization that Mary Hilton, who lives out on the south end of campus, volunteers for. And that's where you can donate those clamshell to-go containers. If you rinse them out, stack them. So don't close them up and put them in a bag. Stack them. She will take those and donate them to Free Hot Soup. She'll take large, medium, or small. And she wanted to be here today, but she's out of town. But I did put a plug in for her. And then batteries. That's where Judy Brohammer comes in. Judy put boxes in all the recycling rooms over at the Meadows. And the last haul was 68 pounds you delivered. Is that correct, Judy? Yeah, 68 pounds of batteries just out of the Meadows dropped over at the warehouse. So did you hear his comment? He said that's like a fourth grader. 68 pounds. Eric, you know, I refer to these guys as an illustrative panel. Anthony referred to them as a motley crew. I'm kind of thinking you were right, Anthony. So, you know, maybe a lot of you do collect recycling in your apartment buildings. Maybe you can add battery collection and join Judy's charge there. Take your own bag to the grocery store. Have you ever had those in your back seat and then you get in the grocery store and you forgot them? And then it's like, do I go out and get them or do I just take plastic? Little efforts add up to a big impact. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And then, as Todd said, and I think everybody on the panel would agree, we recognize there's always more that we can do. We're open to your ideas and your feedback about how we can do better as staff or as a collective community of residents and associates together. And they didn't know I was going to say this, but I volunteer any of them to come speak to your neighborhood group if you want to get into more detail about any particular area, because, you know, we asked them all just to kind of condense and be short, sweet, and to the point today. But certainly there is more on each of these topics that might be of interest to the residents in your neighborhood. So that's what we got. Oh, question, sir.
Who do you contact for furniture reassignment?
Well, first, you could contact your area manager. Your area manager, which I believe yours is Lisa Smith. Yes, Fran.
Could you put the website for recycling maybe in the e-blast?
We could also add the one for compost too.
Great.
We'd be happy to do that. And also, if you do see water on the sidewalks, you know, from a sprinkler going awry or something, just put in a work order and that will go to Dave and he can take care of that. Yes, Lita?
I just want to thank Dave and his crew for all their work on the landscape in the courtyard. It looks lovely and they made such a big improvement. And also, I know that I'll probably get disagreements over this, but I think the E building looks awesome. I've been over there on my floor just about every week.
Oh, good.
And I have a construction background, as Eric knows. I torment him ever so often, but it is. I am proud of it.
Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? I know we ran over, but we appreciate your indulgence with some additional time. And thanks to you guys. These guys are all super busy. So thanks to you guys for doing that.
We just have a couple of quick things. First of all, I want to say I am very proud of being here and what we have here. Our next meeting is November 3rd. The program will be Dr. Twinter, so don't miss it. And please turn your cell phones back on.